Have you ever had feelings of depression? Well, today that's exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what depression is, and maybe a little bit about what depression isn't, and give us some answers, some direction on what we need to do to feel better. Check it out. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome to Yoga Psych. This is where we're going to learn some ancient answers to help with your current problems. Now, psychology, especially modern psychology, always is focusing on pathology, right? We're focusing on mental illnesses, and depression is one of those mental illnesses. And so I want to help you understand what depression is, but I also want to clarify, because I'm not as you see with Yoga Psych, I'm not a big believer in that you have a mental illness or that you're broken. I do think things happen that create moods or feelings, and we can over-identify with those moods and feelings and get stuck in them. And then that can cause our pathologies. But the truth is, you're not broken. And I want to help you find that truth. So let's look in depression and see if we can take a new look at what we think about depression with this video. Now, I want to start with a story about me. I always share stories, but I thought, let's get vulnerable here. Let's get real. So I remember years and years ago, when I was just starting therapy, I was telling a friend of mine, Rick, you're out there, Rick, right? Rick Camarillo. I was telling him about growing up and what my life was like. Parents divorced when I was 5. Mom basically takes off, leaves the family, and Dad's raising us, and we're pretty much on our own. Talk about latchkey kids, that's what we were. And life was hard. And so as I'm sharing my kind of story with Rick and talking about what's going on, he makes this just offhanded comment, "Wow, that sounds depressing." And I thought, What? What did he say? Depressed? Am I feeling depressed? And all my life, my coping skill to deal with all this trauma and stuff that I went through was to bury my feelings and just be positive, be that positive guy, joker, funny, happy, smile on my face, just cover it up. And I wanted to present that I was just okay. I was really okay. So when he said, "Hey, that sounds kind of depressing," it made me think, oh, wow, are there feelings there that I'm not dealing with? And of course, the answer was yes. I could feel, just in looking inside myself for a moment, I could feel the heaviness inside. And I had already been in therapy. I'd already started therapy. So, of course, I'm going to share this story with my therapist and talk to him. I'm not sure I got a lot of help from him. I know it's a sidebar. He was one of those therapists that was really great at listening. Like, yeah, how'd that make you feel? But wasn't really good at giving me answers or giving me direction on what I needed to do. So I remember kind of sharing that experience, that revelation to me that, maybe I have some depressed feelings inside of me. And as I started talking about it, sharing it, I realized that as you share feelings, as you share kind of where you are, there is a feeling of catharsis. There is a feeling of release. And I think that's revelation to everybody out there, right? But I think what the revelation for me was that I began to see and understand that the exact thing that I was doing to try and help my depression or help myself deal with difficulties and hard times and anxieties and just the overwhelmingness of my childhood growing up, the way I was dealing with it was also causing me problems. So think about it this way. If you're playing a piano and you come along and you depress one of the keys on the piano, what are you doing? You're pushing it down. That's what it means to depress. Depressing a key means to push it down. Well, in depression, that's exactly what's happening, is that I have feelings or experiences or thoughts even that I don't like. I don't want to deal with because they're frightening or overwhelming or too much for me. So what do? Duh, you push them down. You take those feelings and you push them away. Well, what's interesting about that clear distinction is that the feelings themselves are not bad. The feelings are just feelings. It's when I'm pushing them down that I cause this depression. And so the depression doesn't come from my childhood or any of my experiences. It comes from my inability or unwillingness to deal with my feelings that causes the depression. Now let's bring it back to yoga psych, okay? One of the things you always learn from me is that the second consideration in yoga psych is that energy is everything. When you think about your emotions, I know nobody ever thinks about their emotions, but when you think about your emotions and you think about what they are, your emotions are neurosignals. They're neurosignals from your limbic system to your body. They're neurostimulation that goes into your body and prepares you for action. Well, those electrical signals that we get from our brain to our body have different patterns to them, just like different colors around us are just different patterns of light waves, different patterns of energy. Your emotions are the same thing. Your emotions are different patterns of electrical signals sent from your limbic system to your body. Well, these patterns have signatures to them. They have kind of sets to them. And if you can understand what it is that's making that pattern, that makes that feeling, you can understand how to change it. Now, what depression is, as we just talked about, is when my electrical signals from my brain get pushed. And what that means in an electrical term, it means those energies, that neurosignal gets compressed. When I take my emotions and I compress them, I push them, I stuff them, as it were, what's happening is that the waves that make up the electrical signal get compressed. It's called the frequency. The frequency compresses. Depression is a low amplitude signal, doesn't have a lot of energy to it, that is highly compressed. So here I was as a young man and even as a kid growing up, taking all my feelings and compressing them. Because I didn't want to deal with them, right? The intent was good, but in doing it, compressing those feelings, I was shortening up those energy waves and basically creating a secondary emotion, depression. And what happens when I start to talk about my depression, or even more importantly, when I talk about the feelings I'm trying to push down, my feelings growing up, the waves begin to expand. Those energy waves, those energy signals begin to broaden. And it's that broadening, it's that expansion of the electrical signal that helps me release them and begins to create flow. And when I have flow, when the energy, the electrical signals are moving through my body, flowing, I feel better. And in fact, joy, happiness, love, all of those positive feelings have absolute flow to them. They are just way out there. And so that's what we want to do, is in journaling, in talking to friends, in doing art or exercise or whatever it is you do that gets your energy moving, what you're doing is you're getting those electrical signals to begin to flow. And it's that flow that's going to make you feel better. Now, again, one of the emphasis that we always bring back in yoga psychology is that these are just neurosignals. They're not truth. They're not reality. They're not who you are. They're what you're feeling. And so it's really important for you to remember this is just energy, and you need to let the energy go through your body. It doesn't mean anything. And that is so helpful because we start to feel this energy through our body. We're like, oh my gosh, this is scary. This is overwhelming. What's this mean? I'm going to die. And then we shut it back down again. You can't do that. Let the energy flow through you. And the only way you're going to let that energy flow through you is to realize it's not you. It's just electrical signals from your brain to your body that you have to let flow again. So if you're feeling any kind of depression, I want you to do this week. I want you to begin to create flow again. And I want you to consider this idea. What if I could let my feelings go? That's the consideration I want you to float. What if I can let my feelings go? And I know you can't, and I know you're scared, and I know it's overwhelming because you've tried it a million times, but I want you just to float that question. What if I could? And I want you to begin to imagine what it would look like in your brain to let your energy flow again. And as you pretend and imagine and think about that for a minute, what will happen is you start to picture that. You'll start to feel it. And as you feel that, let that energy come, because that's the flow we need. And as you let that energy come, you're going to feel a shift in your physiology. That's your brainstem. Begin to act with that, move with that. Smile, breathe, walk. Whatever it is you need to do, let yourself move with that. I always like to create gestures like, I move with my hands and I just imagine letting that energy go. And I can use my hand gestures to gesture that, which is a signal to my body. So find a gesture that makes you remember, let it go, let it flow. All right, so consider that. What if today I can start to let my feelings flow? Thanks again for watching. I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and you are learning about yoga, psychology, some ancient answers for your current problems. Talk to you soon.